When news broke that the party branch headed by Prime Minister Takaichi had received donations from companies beyond the permitted legal limit, the political world reacted with a mixture of surprise and inevitability. It was surprising because this branch operates under the leadership of the highest political figure in the country, and every action under that umbrella carries a heightened level of scrutiny. It was inevitable because political funding issues in Japan have been a recurring theme for decades, often deeply entwined with the relationship between lawmakers and corporate supporters. This case, however, gained traction not simply because of the excess amounts but because the correction came only after the issue became publicly visible through disclosure. To understand why this development has drawn so much attention, it is important to look closely at the structure of political donations in Japan. Companies and organizations can donate to political groups, but strict ceilings are placed on how much any one entity can contribute within a given period. These rules are meant to prevent disproportionate influence and maintain at least a symbolic level of fairness in the democratic process. When donations exceed those limits, even unintentionally, it raises questions about oversight, transparency, and the degree of attention paid to compliance within political organizations. In the case of the Takaichi-led branch, the discovery was not made internally but surfaced during the official disclosure process, which only deepened public concern. The fact that the correction took place after disclosure is where the controversy truly begins. Critics argue that if the system had been functioning responsibly, the oversight would have been identified long before public reporting. They suggest that the correction appears less like responsible governance and more like a reactive measure taken only because the issue became visible. Supporters of the Prime Minister counter that the error was administrative, lacking intentional wrongdoing and representing the kind of paperwork issue that can arise in any large political operation. They claim that the donation reporting system itself can often be difficult to navigate, with numerous technicalities and overlapping guidelines. The broader context, however, shows that the timing of the correction matters. In politics, perception is often as important as fact. When a leader is faced with public criticism regarding funding issues, it can influence trust even if the violation was minor or accidental. Prime Minister Takaichi has built a reputation as a firm, rule-oriented figure, someone who emphasizes discipline within government. For such a leader, even small oversights can feel larger than they are because they contrast with the image that has been carefully established over time. Analysts observing the situation note that the political cost of this controversy may not come from the donations themselves but from the lingering doubt created in the minds of voters. To further complicate the picture, corporate donations in Japan often carry symbolic meanings. A company's choice to support a particular politician or group signals alignment with certain policies or expectations of future cooperation. For businesses, these contributions can be strategic, forming part of broader long-term relationships with political actors. When a company gives more than allowed, it raises the question of whether enthusiasm exceeded legality or whether the political side failed to maintain proper boundaries. In either case, the optics are troubling because they suggest either undue influence or a lapse in governance. This event has also invited comparison to past donation-related controversies. Japan has experienced several high-profile incidents where political figures were scrutinized or forced to apologize because of irregularities in funding reports. Those cases have shaped the public's sensitivity to such issues, making people more alert and more demanding of clarity. Even though the correction in this case was made and the excess amounts addressed, the underlying concern remains about why it happened in the first place and whether political organizations are taking compliance as seriously as they should. From a governance standpoint, the most important question is whether this incident reveals a structural weakness or an individual oversight. Some analysts argue that the complexity of donation regulations needs to be revisited. They say the system creates ample opportunity for misunderstandings or mistakes. Others argue that rules are clear enough and that the problem lies not with the system but with the management inside political branches. If a branch led by the Prime Minister cannot maintain flawless reporting, then what does that imply about smaller organizations with fewer resources? Prime Minister Takaichi has responded with a measured tone, acknowledging the correction and emphasizing that the branch will review its internal processes. While the response aims to project responsibility, it also reflects the weight of leadership. Every misstep, no matter how small, becomes amplified when it occurs within the office of the Prime Minister. This moment serves as a reminder that political power brings heightened accountability, and even administrative errors can become sources of wider political debate. Public reaction has been mixed. Some people feel that the correction is enough and that the matter should not be exaggerated. Others view it as another example of political carelessness that undermines confidence in government transparency. The story has sparked discussions across media platforms about the relationship between politics and corporate money and about the need for stronger safeguards. Whether these conversations translate into reforms remains to be seen, but they reflect a growing desire for cleaner and more reliable political systems. As this situation continues to unfold, the implications extend beyond the immediate controversy. The incident will be part of the broader narrative surrounding Prime Minister Takaichi's leadership, shaping how her administration is perceived domestically and internationally. It highlights how even small discrepancies in political funding can evolve into major talking points and how transparency, or the lack of it, can affect the trust between leaders and the people they serve. In the end, this story serves as a reminder that the integrity of political funding processes is essential to maintaining public confidence. While the correction was made and the excess donations addressed, the conversation it has triggered about oversight, influence, and accountability will likely continue. It is not simply a matter of numbers on a form but a question of how political power interacts with corporate interests and how carefully those interactions are monitored. The coming weeks will reveal whether the administration can move past this moment or whether it will continue to resonate as part of a larger debate over political responsibility.